It's Friday Night Comics. It is July 4th, Friday Night Comics, and even though our country is a uh, cruel hellhole, we're still going to try and make the best of it, and even feature a few fireworks on our our main page here. It's the We Believe in Comics Friday Night Workshops at the Sequential Artists Workshop, or SAW. SAW is a 501c3 nonprofit with online courses, which you can find at sawcomics.org. For instance, we have 4 weeks with Rob Clow coming up, where he's going to teach about coming up with ideas, developing those ideas, and then even pitching those ideas to publishers and things. And those are 4 separate sessions, but you can find out more at sawcomics.org. Next week in this slot on Friday night, we have Aiden Koch. So come back for that. Also, we have our online comic certificate program, which is a year-long program starting in September. And there are ways to find out about our free hour-long sessions that explain a lot more about that. You can go to sawcomics.org and find out more about those. So there's the Rob thing. Oh, the Graphic Medicine Summit is coming up. That's July 18th. There we go to 20th. And hopefully that's on our website too. And that is 3 days of free workshops and readings and panel discussions, all in the graphic medicine sphere. So that's really exciting. And that's some of the stuff that's happening there, including a preview of Young in Iran, the book of Iranian cartoonists that we'll be publishing soon. Anyway, thanks for donating. If you donated, the donations help us keep these events free. It helps us pay the instructors. It also helps us support other people who need scholarships and things like that. And it is what keeps SAW afloat. So thank you. So, all right, let's get started. Please, no inappropriate speech or imagery, no trolling or hate speech. Let's keep the sharing at PG-13. Tonight you can share on social media. Any night you can share on social media. Hashtag Friday Night Comics is what we like to hashtag. You can tag us at Comics Workshop. I'll put Sunmi's in the chat. It's Sunmi, I think, _comics, but we'll put that in the chat. You can also come to members.sawcomics.org. And some of you know, oh wait, let's talk about time. We like to keep these to 90 minutes, so watch the time. And if we're sharing and going over, we may have to limit our sharing. But you can be part of our weekly PDFs where you upload and we make a PDF and we put it on seesawcomics.org. And those are super fun. I should probably update some of our images here, but this is what they tend to look like. Enjoy. We are here for Mixtape Comics with Sunmi, and Sunmi's comics are really amazing. I'm really excited to see what happens here. Sunmi, are you ready? I'm going to stop sharing. Yeah? Let's see. Go ahead and unmute. I'm gonna spotlight you, so you're gonna get big on everybody's screen. All right, you ready for that?
Yeah, sounds good. Hi everyone. I'll share my screen in a moment. Probably gonna be adjusting ear lock because I have an earphone in here. Okay, awesome. It's been a moment since I've done like a Zoom thing, screen sharing and all that. So hi. My name's Sunmi. Let's see. I'm cartoonist. I'm also, I guess, an author and artist otherwise. I've also been doing a lot of other work and hobbies lately, singing and going to the gym. Um, yeah, I have been making comics for a while, and a lot of the work that I've made explores themes of like gender and my identity being Korean in the United States. And I don't know, this photo I have of myself at the bar that I work at, it is like that was one of the more recent photos of me.
You're behind like another
Because
person, you're kind of hiding there,
yeah,
right?
I'm right there. I'm a little hidden. I'm behind one of my regulars with his trumpet.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I've been bartending for 2 jazz nights for the last year. 2 jazz jam sessions in specific. Yeah, so I guess let's get into it. I got my start making zines and comics. I went to school here in Baltimore, Maryland, where I live now. MICA, the Maryland Institute College of Art. in about 2015, while I was in school, I reached out to a guy named Ryan Sands who has a small press called Youth in Decline. That's kind of where first got my hands on a risograph printer. First time I heard about it. Uh, I met him at Small Press Expo, which is the big indie comic show here in Bethesda, Maryland. Yeah, and this was like the very first zine I made where I had a bunch of sketchbook drawings because I was playing a lot of fantasy video games. So, been been one of the zines that he gave me, one of his early ones that was kind of more of a mishmash of things. His main Youth in Decline's main series back in the day was a comics magazine or comics zine series called Frontier. Um, these days he's kind of just been printing zines with his kid who loves to also draw fantasy video games like Elden Ring. So I guess that's kind of a nice full circle maybe. Now his kid's for a video game character and making zines, so that's really fun. Um, yeah, while I was in school, and then after I met Ryan and I continued to make my own zines during school after I was kind of like printing them on lots of different risograph printers, like anyone I could get in touch with who had one. My school got one by my senior year, like my last year in college, they got one and I kind of harassed them until they let me use it for our comics club, our Sequential Arts Club. Yeah, for weeks I was like emailing and then finally at the door of the printmaking department being like, please, I know how to use this printer. I would like to be able to print our comics scene on it. But then he gave me a job, so that's what persistence gets you, sometimes a job.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and so risograph printers, sometimes some of these actually, like the one in the bottom left and the one in the middle top, were actually on an inkjet printer, just like, used home printer with cheap off-brand ink. Um, the bottom, middle, and the far right photos are from when I did a residency back in 2018 in Chicago. Unfortunately, doesn't exist anymore because the woman who was running it had moved from Chicago to New Mexico, so she couldn't run this residency program anymore. And also, unfortunately, the independent publishing zine studio that it was like a community print studio, which was really great. Also, unfortunately, closed down after being unable to continue running out of this space. But back in 2018, I spent a week in Chicago also making zines and comics. And I remembered, funnily enough, that I did run like a workshop that was like a similar topic. It was just called like Music and Memories. And um, I was like, okay, yeah, this is great. I have like done a workshop about this topic before because, as you'll tell, music is really important to me. Um, so one of the other recent mini comics I made was mentioned by Tom called I Prefer the Puro That Knows Sadness. I had originally made it for Shortbox Digital Comics Fair, which is an event that runs annually online. Just kind of I think releases maybe like 40 to 50 new comics, like just kind of like brand new debut comics from people all around the world, in digital format, just being sold as PDFs online. So this was the one that I had made for it. It's kind of just like funnily enough, I get like people thinking that I had someone ask me if it was autobio, but I was like, oh, it's fiction. I just write in a style that sounds like it's just because it's from a first person perspective with this comic. But it's basically just like about a young trans man who is, just like a working college student. He's actually the main character of my next book, that I'll talk about in a moment. But yeah, in this very short, maybe 20-page comic, I did it originally as a digital PDF and then printed it by myself again on my old Studio Mates Risograph back in 2022. Kind of playing with the idea of this fake television show that I printed in full color while most of the comic is in black and white. Um, yeah, so my main books are young adult graphic novels. My first one was called Firebird, that was published in 2023. Um, and that one is also kind of a coming of age story about young queer Asian American teenagers. Um, about the first book being about like a sophomore in high school who is tutoring an older, like a senior in high school, in a peer tutoring program. They just kind of get to know each other and yeah, kind of relate on a lot of different areas and stuff. And so my second book, which is technically kind of the main character of I Prefer the Pure No Sadness, it's called Shim Chung Lives Alone. And yeah, is also going to be a young adult story, but a little older. Again, this character's in college now. It's just, yeah. I mean, for both of my young adult stories, it's basically just me being like, well, I'll just think about what I remember experiencing as a teenager, and then the second book is what I remember experiencing as a in my 20s, coming to Baltimore. Yeah, um, stories about young queer Korean Americans. Um, so here's a little bit of art from Firebird, which I feel like also kind of ties into the topic of this workshop that a big part of what I was remembering with being a teen was driving in the car with friends, listening to music. That's kind of one of the first pivotal scenes where the characters start to like connect to each other, this kind of conversation. And originally, I drew it for a zine that I made with friends back in 2016 when I was in college. So this is kind of like a comparison of like my art back then and how I evolved and the way I ended up drawing it in the final graphic novel. Um, yeah. Oh, and also one of another independent project that I worked on last year was with my old studio mates that I mentioned, Lucky Pocket Press. We had a studio space together in Baltimore for a few years, I think from like 2020 to 2023-ish. And Yeah, so their current project, Lucky Pocket Press, they do also comics and risograph scenes and have tried to like transition to making bigger books, with offset printers. So their current series is called Knapsack Magazine. The first volume of Knapsack Magazine was music themed. Um, so I instead of making a comic when they asked me to participate, I wrote this kind of like fun magazine spread, 2-page article, sharing some of the CDs that I've collected over the past few years of mostly like these compilation mixes, like mixtapes. I mean, they're not mixtapes, they're compilation mixes, a little different, but yeah, they're kind of like all dance music, um, made by DJs that kind of have a nonstop like flow to it. So each song will go into the next. Yeah, so that was also um, my one of my recent projects with an indie publisher. So getting into the topic of mixtapes, I was thinking about mixtapes, the definition of them, they're either referring to um, a collection of songs that are made by one person, like just like who's not a musician, someone who's just making uh, a mix of music to share, or for musicians, it is like their indie projects, like their zines, I guess, right? Like they're making an album that's not officially out with a record label. It's a more experimental project or something that they just wanted to put out. Um, and as I mentioned, I've been working these jazz music nights that are jam sessions where anyone can come and bring their instrument and join in with the other musicians. So I have been doing that for almost a year or two now. Getting into jazz has made it so that I've reflected a lot about kind of like my own craft, being comics. As I talk to these musicians whose craft is jazz. Um, yeah, I was remembering a quote from this book by Linda Berry, which I think is either what it is or picture this, but I took this picture years ago when I borrowed a big stack of Linda Berry books, and so that's why I'm like I can't remember which book it was, but um, she's really great and smart, and so again, it's been on my mind thinking about kind of the parallels of music and visual art or drawing specifically. So, that's kind of where I'm at when I was thinking about mixtapes and music. I came up with these prompts. We can kind of just start to get into it. So I decided to go a couple different directions because I was thinking, it's like I've been thinking a lot about my relationship to music and to comics and art, but I think everyone kind of has a unique relationship. So, yeah, here's some prompts that we can kind of get started with. A few questions that maybe we can take like 5 to 10 minutes to write down some kind of get our brainstorming going. Um, yeah, should I just like set a timer or something?
Yeah, I'm typing that into the chat right now. So if you need to pull away from that slide, you can. In fact, I'm just about to hit enter. Okay, good. I got it. Yeah, this is wonderful. So what were some of the songs on a mixtape that someone gave you before, or what are some songs you would have put on a mixtape for someone? That's a great prompt. What were the intention behind the misc? What were some of the feelings that come up when you hear those songs? What did you used to listen to music growing up? What do you use now? Interesting. Yeah, so 5 minutes for the total. I think that sounds right. And you can use a timer if you like, send me, or I have a timer on my Zoom, like on my Zoom screen. I could use that, whichever you prefer.
Yeah, I think that would help if you could time it.
Sure, I'll start it
That
right now.
way I can kind of get into it too. Thank you.
Yep. Okay, so that's started. So if you look at my screen, and I'll make sure my hand is raised, um, you'll see it. So great. Yeah, this is exciting. And for the younger generation, if they don't know, they're just gonna have to imagine what a mixtape is. But I guess we call them playlists now, right? Yeah. So there's about 3 minutes left for everybody. Nikki started a little chat of things that you might have put on your mixtape. So if you want to be included or just sort of mention it, go ahead. I'm going to write down that I put a lot of song poems on in my mixes back in the day. I can explain that some other day, but if you got a spare moment and want to put the kind of your favorite thing to put on a mixtape, that'd be cool. Inspire other people. And we've got a minute left. You're going to get a great a Zoom musical fanfare in 10 seconds announcing that it's over. Thanks, Alice. How's that, Sunmi? That little that little music thing. Let me turn it off.
That was great. I loved that. Okay. Awesome. Should we have like a little time to share before we move on to the drawing portion? A bit of drawing brainstorming.
I think sharing at the midpoint tends to get a little chaotic, but maybe in the chat people could put some things down.
Yeah, yeah. I did open the chat in a little break, so I did start to see what some folks were saying about music that they listen to and stuff. It's great.
Yeah, let's
Um, yeah, awesome. So then my next slide, let's go. Okay. So now I think to like have a warm up with for sketchbooks, I can so let's see, I have a second screen or like a second Zoom account set up with I think it's gonna just say Sunmi S. I don't know how to make that the like main
well, I could
thing.
spotlight it, but I'd have to remove the screen sharing. So
The screen share.
yeah, so I could write down what you've got there and then we could move to it.
That
And
sounds good. Yeah.
be easy to spotlight. Okay, give me a minute to copy that down.
Yep. So for the drawing portion, I think for the writing portion, I was thinking, like yeah, like your relationship to music and to what you listen to music with in the past and the present. So for the drawing prompts, while Tom copies that into the chat, some ideas for things to draw, like someone who shared a mixtape with you before or a playlist, someone you'd share it with now. and audio devices that you might have used to listen to music to in the past and the present. And then I even was like, why not go like to audio devices of the future or, kind of more fantastical, otherworldly things. I remembered this one that was in a book that I read as a teen called L'écume des Jours or Froth of the Daydream. I think I heard about it because it got adapted into a movie that was called Mood Indigo.
Hmm.
Um, Funnily enough, also kind of, yeah, it's a jazz reference, and the book was about some like new like French. It takes place in France, and it's like like some folks who enjoy music and books and stuff because I think one of the character collects philosophy books by the name is not coming to me. But the point of it is that in the book, and another like thing that I found as an adult is that there is like this very strange manga adaptation by my favorite manga artist Kyoko Kazaki, where she adapted this French surrealist novel into comic. And so this was her interpretation of this funny um contraption that would I think she depicted it like this with like turntables and other things, but I think the original in the book was it was just kind of a weird piano that when you played it would create a cocktail. So, based off of the music that you played, it was called the Piano Cocktail. And I remembered that. So I have a copy of this book in Japanese because it was never translated or licensed into English or French. I feel like it should have been in French because I mean more of her books have been translated to French than English actually. So
I, I don't know Kyoko Akizaki. That looks great though. I love that style. You'll have to tell me more.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. So I guess we can for the drawing portion, should we do more like 10 minutes?
That seems about right for doodling to these four prompts. And I've got those in the chat. I'm going to put it again in the chat. So it's twice in there now. So you can remove the screen share if you want to see
Okay.
your
So and
screen. And once I find your other screen, I can spotlight it.
stop share. And
Oh,
then
there you are. Yeah.
yeah, so I don't know. Let's see if it'll oh awesome. Okay, so this is just my phone. My phone on a precarious wiggle like this like tripod arm that's not very stable.
I used to do it on a stack of books for a while, and you had to be really.
Yeah. Oh, and I do see in the chat someone asked Jackie if we do all prompts or pick one. You can do what you like. I threw four of them out there just to kind of give you different directions to go. You're definitely welcome to do all four or just choose one that speaks to you the most. Should we set the timer 10
Oh, yeah.
minutes?
Sorry, I meant to do that.
Awesome.
I'll
No
set it.
problem. Thank you, Tom.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'll set it for 9:45. There we go.
Yeah, I do have the chat open so I can see people's questions. Um, yeah, I can talk about my pen too. I considered including that in the slideshow because I have talked about this pen in previous artist presentations and talks that I've done. It's called a Pilot Parallel pen. It's a fountain pen, so it has a little cartridge inside of it. I can also type the name into the chat so that everyone can see, but it's got a cartridge. Funnily enough, I got really into modifications with this pen and fountain pens in general. So I have seen there's a modification where you can fill this entire barrel with ink, which I think is so funny. And then you kind of make it so that it's watertight. But it's a yeah, it's a pen. It's got a kind of a unique nib that's flat. Um, let's I can put that in there. And also has multiple sizes. So this one is 1.5 millimeters. I've got a couple more here that are 3 point and 4.5, so they're like even wider. Um, I had a friend in college use these pens, and one time when I ran into her at like the kind of digital lab as she was scanning some of her ink drawings, uh, she let me use her pen, and yeah, it was great. I feel like it completely changed. It really took defined the way that I draw. Actually, I really do think that like just that one instance, this one friend who let me try out her pen really changed the course of my entire drawing and comics style because I feel like I used this pen and I was like, oh my gosh, this like feels like the pen for me. Like
Wow,
and
that's
I don't
great.
think I'm using the exact same one that I would have used back then because the plastic is a little like I feel like I've cracked a few of these, you know.
Mhm.
But yeah. Yeah, it's a great pen. It's really fun. I feel like something for like yeah, more tool talk, I will say is it I've always struggled with brush pens or inking with a brush because I think that relies a lot on the like kind of delicate pressure of like your hand on the paper. Whereas what I found with the parallel pen, this like flat nib, is that it's about the angle. So it
Mm.
feels like the way that you control line width is really just like about the angle of how you're drawing, you know? So like if you just use the very side of it, you can get extremely fine lines. But if you only draw with the flat end, then you can get very thick lines. It's yeah, just
And pressure doesn't seem
I
to
always
change.
yeah, it's really not about the pressure, it's about the angle. And I feel like that's why I continually recommend this pen because I think it's surprising how that can make all the difference. Yeah. Oh yeah, the Fude Nib pens, I also love those. I have a couple too. Yeah. Um yeah, so I love to be nerdy about this stuff.
4 minutes left for everybody. Oh, the old-fashioned iPod. Who doesn't miss that? Well, it's only a minute left. That's our timer.
So, okay, I think so. Let's see. Yeah, I kind of went off of with the time we had. I drew my friend Emily, who I actually just saw last week. I was in Philly for the American Librarians Association conference. My partner Mar, who is also a comics artist and published a graphic novel called Brownstone, received an award. So while we were
Oh,
in Philly, I was able to catch up with this friend, who back in high school was one of my really close friends. We did band together. Funnily enough, she was also a trumpet player. I was a percussionist. And she also played percussion, actually. We did drumline together. So yeah, I was just like, I had such a great time catching up with my friend and thinking about how we've known each other for so long. Um, she's got all these cool piercings now. And just kind of works in community organizing in Philadelphia. So yeah. And but back then we just shared music that we liked. And Also was I think I in a previous slide for that article I did for Lucky Pocket, I've got the Hello Kitty boombox on my desk. So um I was thinking about with the writing prompts I wrote about how, like, yeah, in the past I used an iPod, these days I will listen to music on my iPhone. But also something that hasn't changed is back then and now I still use CD players and my computer to listen to music too. So, or like, the car in the car. So, yeah, I could probably share my screen again for the final slide.
sure. Let me
Let's see.
spotlight that.
Do I share my screen right, so my last slide for the final portion of the workshop. Let's make a comic. Um, so I think, 4 panels is a pretty good start, but if you have if all this writing and drawing kind of gave you an idea where maybe you have like an idea for a short comic that's got more than 4 panels, you're welcome to do that. Um, drawing from your life, auto bio, like thinking about again, like what we've written about, or maybe, if you got an idea for something a little more fantastical or fictional. Um, yeah, I'm thinking, this was kind of where I went with it.
That's
Should
great.
we do like another 10 minutes for this final round? And I think I don't, where's a clock? I don't know.
Maybe
Maybe I'll trust you to keep the time, Tom.
sure, I can keep time. Um,
Yeah.
10 seems quick, but we can be quick.
Okay. If we want to do longer, I think that's great too,
Yeah, sure.
So,
We can check in with people at a 10-minute mark and see how they're doing. My
mhm.
suspicion is that 15 we'll get a couple people ready to like share
Yeah.
after 15, but maybe there'll be one or two after 10 minutes. I think if
Okay.
you're going to make a comic in 10 minutes, we all want to see that happen.
Oh,
Um,
I don't think I can.
no, should we
Maybe.
should we go to your screen again with the paper? Because I've got this in the chat.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I can flip the
Okay.
page and we can go back to, yeah, we can get off my
I
yeah.
think we like watching you draw. Your drawings are so
Oh,
lovely.
that's great. Oh, thank you. Yeah. Yeah, I'm happy to change over back to the screen,
Okay,
the
let me,
video.
let's see. I remove the sharing. I'll put there we go. And I'll put the timer on for 10 minutes and with the possibility of adding a few more if people need it.
Mhm.
Okay. Do you know what you're going to draw?
Funnily enough, like I have all these prompts, but I was at work today, at my second restaurant job. And I was thinking of just kind of drawing a little quick autobiocomic of talking to my manager about the music playing on our,
Nice.
speakers at work. So I think maybe I'll think of that. I might try to draw that.
Okay, awesome. I put it at 10 minutes. We've got counting down to 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. So then it'll be 10 minutes. I drew cassettes in that last prompt and I forgot that like I don't know how many people made mixtapes on tapes, but if you wanted to tape over a commercial tape, like when you bought, you had to put tape over the little hole because they were punctured for commercial tapes. But if you just put some tape over it, you could record it. So if you got some shit tape at a garage sale or something, you could tape over it. Anyway, but drawing it is what reminded me of it. I hadn't thought of it in a long, long time. Anyway.
Yeah, I think it's funny to think about how technology has changed a lot over time, but you know, we're all still listening to music. Yeah.
Right. I grew up in a culture of radio shows too, so we would trade radio show tapes. So Sunmi, we're at a minute and a half left. I bet we're going to need that 5 minutes, but I'll leave it to you to decide.
Yeah, yeah. Let's take that 5 minutes.
Right.
Unless anyone is ready to share, I'd be also happy to um take a step away and hear what's
Now we want to see yours get at least a little
Ethan's
bit.
ready.
Oh,
Okay.
oh, okay.
Okay. All right. I think I can get this done in 5 minutes.
All right. I'm
All
going to
right.
add that 5 to the timer. Let's see. There we go. Yeah, like that. On me, I'm going to add another minute because I want to see you finish. So it's now actually at 42 seconds. And I'm going to remind everybody in the chat, I'll put some ways to share in the chat. Um, I love watching a fearless cartoonist draw. You're really fast and fearless. All right, we're letting Sunmi finish up because we're loving how this comes out. Ta-da! Fabulous.
Yeah. So, yeah, I feel like my manager, Julian, he's a really sweet and funny guy. He definitely was jokingly like saying that, not to like be, just kind of poke fun at me a little.
Because
Um,
because you
Definitely.
mixed the 90s with the 2000s.
Yeah, yeah, but it's all good. Yeah, it was like funny because it came up again when I was talking to some other friends, the band Cake, and I just was like, I have never heard Cake before. And one friend was like, I only know about them because I had an ex-boyfriend who was obsessed with them, so he was how I learned all about Cake. And then the other was like, you haven't seen The Sopranos? And I was like, nope, I haven't really seen The Sopranos either, so went over my head.
They were a band that were popular for like maybe a year, maybe just a couple months with like
Hmm.
weird soft-spoken people, but then like the frat boys got a hold of them, and
Yeah.
sort of that was sort of the end of it. They got really popular um, as a sort of frat party band,
Hmm.
but they had an earnestness to them and a simplicity to them that was charming early on, at least for some of us. But cool,
Hmm.
you're totally excused for not knowing who they were. Um, Well, great. So, Sunmi, if you will you do me a favor? It probably won't work, but we'll try it anyway. And that is to look on the bottom of your screen and see if you can find the raise zoom hand button. Um, and sometimes it's under React. Sometimes you got to click the heart on
Oh, I
React.
see it. Yes.
Yeah. And then cool. And so what'll happen is Zoom will probably automatically lower that, and it'll be a pain. So forget it if it happens. If you happen to see it say Zoom is going to lower your hand, hit cancel, but you probably won't see it because it's very fast and it's
Mhm.
annoying and it's AI generated. But anyway, oh, see, it already happened.
Yeah. I mean, I actually clicked at that time. I was curious. So
Oh, yeah,
awesome.
yeah. Anyway, we've got some people who are ready to share. You want to take a look? I'll spotlight them and we can ask them to show.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So, do I need to click anything or are we just gonna, you'll
I
just
can do
click
it.
on whoever's awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll ask them to unmute and then I'll spotlight them just like your spotlight at the moment, and we'll take a look. So we'll go to Nikki, then David, then Jackie, then Eli. So here's Nikki from New Zealand.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much. This was such a nice wander down memory lane. Really enjoyed it. So I've done I've just done a two open panels. So that was the first one. And then my cat came and sat on my sketchbook for a bit. So I had a pause. So I didn't end up doing the full panel, but I thought here's me offering a mixtape to someone and they're going like, what the F is that? And then they just do the modern day version.
Yeah, you're just seeing it on your computer.
So
Yeah,
it was
cool.
just those two panels for me. So thank you. That was like so much
Lovely.
fun and such
Yeah,
happy
I love these
memories.
drawings. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Nikki.
Nikki.
We'll go to David next. Here we go.
Okay, this is just one panel, but my wife is a professional harpist,
Hmm.
and she made a mix of whale sounds, which we got from the Whale Institute in Maine, and harp. So we made whale harp CDs. They're fairly unique. Not too many other people doing whale and harp.
Oh,
I
yeah, that
just
is
did one.
really unique.
It's on Pandora and the usual sources. But anyway, whale and harp. That's all.
It's wonderful. Thank you, David.
Thanks. We'll go to Jackie now. Here we go.
Mine's a little busy. Um, it starts off with the evolution here of like the, the taping off the radio. Shut up, my song is on. And, the boombox and the Zune and all that, and me asking Alexa to play something that is too old for its library. So here's just some of my favorite mixtapes. The mixtape that my Philly boyfriend made me when I first moved to Chicago. My friend Chris's well, I guess they dated her right, anti-war, racism, cop, etc. mixtape, and it's me like grooving to these anti-authority rants. My friend made me a tape called Radio Free America, and there I am singing along to Black Sabbath. I kept that tape, listened to it in my car until the car died, and then the tape died with the car. Then a mixed CD that my friend Brian made when we had a baby. He was the only visitor that we allowed to see us when we were in the hospital, and it's just me on the baby with on the couch with the baby. I had postpartum depression, and every time I think of that CD, I think about how it got me through that. Helped get me through that time when I was just sitting there on the couch with the baby. So yeah.
Yeah. Wow, thank you for sharing the memories and also the drawings. I love them. Wow.
The expressions. Thanks, Jackie.
Thanks, that was lots of fun.
Right, we're gonna go to Eli next, and then Alex, then Jeannie, then Nicole. Here we go.
Hi. Let's see. When I was a kid, I had this little red ball that was an AM radio, and I would hold it up to my mom's cassette tape recorder and tape songs off the radio station. And then in college, I tried to draw myself with the mohawk, but I don't know. It looks like something happened there. I made friends with, I didn't have a stereo myself, so I made sure to make friends with everyone who had really good tape-to-tape players, and then I would just camp out in their dorm room and record all of their music and try to make tapes for the dance parties on the weekend. And then later, I still was living in Florida, and it was hot, and I didn't have air conditioning, so in the summer, I would go to the public library, sit there all day and make mixtapes of the, they had a really good world music collection in their CDs and bluegrass music. So I would just sit there all day. And then it started to become kind of an obsession, and I felt like I was hoarding music. Like I just had a compulsion to just get more and more and more free music, and I would look for all the cassette tape sales in the drugstores. Oh God, my dog just has like a sense of when I'm doing this. She probably hears my voice. Anyway, I'm getting chewed on under the desk here. And I got so obsessed with it, I would carry cassette tapes with me everywhere I went. So whenever I went over to people's houses, I would just pretty much hang out and record their records. I'm sure I was an excellent guest. I don't know what's going on with my camera. It's not focusing. And then around that same time in my 20s, I was in this horrible relationship where we kept breaking up, getting back together again. And we were supposed to meet to process whether we were going to reunite again. And so she came over and and kind of in the middle of our discussion, I decided that it would be a really good time I had an inspiration and I need to start making a mixtape. So I wouldn't let her talk while I was picking the new song. And so anyway, she left, and that was the end of that. A few years ago, I photocopied all my playlists and drawings from all of those cassette tapes, hundreds of them, and I dropped the whole box off in front of the, I didn't finish this drawing, in front of the college that's near my house, and hoped that some young kid would think it was so cool and vintage. But now I listen to everything on Spotify, which, so while I'm listening to music, I'm helping the owner invest in his new project, which is AI drone weapons. So yay, rock on.
I love these drawings and the use of color too. Thank you.
Thanks. That was really fun.
I was also obsessively burning CDs from the library as a kid.
Awesome. This is great. Oh, fireworks started over here. Anyway, we'll go to Alice next. Here we go.
Um, okay, I wrote about mixtape that was used to woo me. So this says David and I officially met at the wedding, and we drove home in separate trucks. But a few days later, I found this in my, oh, it's backwards, but anyway, I found this in my mailbox, and it had, this is double page. It had a tape, a cassette tape in it that said, sorry, it's a little blurry, huh? That said truly, deeply. And there was a song by Will Oldham on there called One with the Birds. And it turns out that the tape was magical and effective, and it's still our song 26 years later. So
Oh, that's
that's
so
the,
sweet.
I wish I could make it not blurry, but you get the idea.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Alice.
Awesome. And did that say "Fly with me until we're dead"?
Yes, that's one of the lyrics of the song.
Amazing. Thanks, Alice.
Yeah,
All right, we'll go to
thank
Jeannie.
you.
Hey, this was really wonderful going down memory lane. I put this all on a very tiny card, but anyway, here is a tape cassette, and I listened a lot to Al Jasbo, and recorded a lot of his stuff for my kids to grow up in the right way. So anyway, that's the cassette. And then this is listening to the radio. And there's a local station in the Bay Area, San Francisco Bay Area, K-Jazz, that was here for many, many years. It's not there anymore. But one of the great things about K-Jazz was the advertisements were done by the DJs, and they were all those laid back smoking DJs. So the advertisements were really great. On other stations, it was "Come on down to Frank's used car," and they'd say, "Hey, Frank's got some cars for you." Anyway, that was a lot of fun. So I did tape a lot of the the K-Jazz radio programs, and then CDs. And this is all in the car, and this is a CD player in a car. And then this last panel is listening to music through my hearing aids, which is an old person's superpower.
Yeah, absolutely. I love how you colored the CD and these, yeah.
Yeah.
The hearing device is a device too. Yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing, Jeannie.
Thank you.
Awesome. We'll go to Nicole next, and then Allison, then AJ.
This was so great. Thank you so much for the prompts. I sort of did my stuff backwards. I did the feeling of what it was like to listen to those mixtapes. So mine would have been this very particular blend of music that was like 1990s dance recital for like a 10-year-old. And so I just want you to imagine like all of the neon and all of the like polka dot scrunchy socks. So I did mine as like, you know, the En Vogue, Never Gonna Get It, and just like all of the ridiculously cheesy dance moves that we would have done to it as like 10-year-olds. And then I have like, I didn't do it in like a square format, but I just did sort of all the Janet Jackson and like all the choreography of just like legs out, legs in. And then, you know, you like, of course, you have to like stick the landing of like everybody on one knee. And then at the bottom, everybody's like clapping and tape recording. And somebody's like, is it over yet? And shushing and falling asleep, which is definitely the experience that I remember from that snapshot of life. So this was awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Nicole. I think like not using panel borders is great. It like flows, like your drawings, and especially when there's dancing.
Thanks, Nicole. Awesome. We will go to Allison next.
Hi, y'all. Okay. For my comic, I just decided to focus on the different ways that I've listened to music over the years and how I imagine music might be shared in the future or listened to in the future. So I put down one of my earliest experiences, which was listening to mixtapes or mix CDs, I should say, that my friends or my sister would make for me. See me here, age 13, lying on the carpet in my bedroom, listening to my friend Alexa's mix for indie snobs, as she labeled it. And then all the CDs that my sister and I made for each other over the year and for various purposes, like when we wanted to listen to something in the car, or when my sister moved away to college, we would mail each other CDs from time to time. Um, and then more recently, just nowadays, when it comes to listening to music, I end up just listening to it on my computer on YouTube. And as I'm sure anyone who's used YouTube or even Spotify, you've experienced this frustration where you've put together a playlist of instrumental stuff or some other genre, and the album or song that you've liked disappears. Someone requested it be taken down, so it was, and there goes that one writing jam that you had, as I experienced earlier this afternoon. And then so finally, my fourth and final panel, I tried to imagine what it might be like to listen to music in the future. And I like to think that eventually we pivot back to physical media, maybe some sort of flash drive or thumb drive with a variety of songs from your favorite albums on it.
Totally.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for sharing, Allison. Oh,
Thank you.
these drawings, the color too. I love it.
Thanks,
I
Allison.
can definitely relate. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, me too. And I hate not knowing what song it was. Like it's like, what? It's removed, but I don't remember what it was.
Exactly.
All right, we'll go to AJ next. Thanks, Alice.
Hello, and thank you so much for the people who've been so welcoming in the chat. I'm a little nervous, always, but I think that sharing is good for me because makes me braver, and then I'm braver on the page also, hopefully.
Yeah.
So yeah. So I was just thinking about well, I'll just say my mother was a classical musician and she did it in pence. I don't know how easy it is to see. She was a real snob about music, and we were only allowed to listen to classical music at home. So the first thing I ever really listened to that wasn't was a mixtape of Beatles songs that a friend had made for me. But I had to do it under my covers at night when the other end of the apartment where my mum couldn't hear anything. She had ears like you wouldn't believe. So that's kind of how it went. And then one day, I don't know, sometime later, I was looking for something in the cupboard in the flat, and never guess what I found. I found like 10 Bob Dylan albums that all belonged to my mum, the snob.
Oh.
So I was like, what? And she's like, I had a boyfriend. I said, can I have them? And she was, yeah, but not blonde on blonde. That's how I got introduced to the music of Bob Dylan. A different kind of way of getting songs from somebody that you're close to. So I thought I'd share that with you. Thank you.
That's incredible. And your expression too. So good.
That's amazing.
Thank you so much, AJ.
Thanks, AJ. And I'm looking for one other person. I don't know if Audrey wanted to share. They were having a hard time finding their Zoom hand. If so, well, we got Sophia, so let's go to Sophia. Here we go.
Hi. I chose to do like a single panoramic panel and to challenge myself because I really like extreme perspectives. So I wanted to do kind of depict the challenge of catching my full song, having so many mixtapes with the first few seconds missing, or just like outright the whole song or half the song, And if you would have listened to my tapes, it was probably just a ton of like half songs, or like I mentioned in the chat, a lot of repeated clips of songs. So it would always be because I would be sitting across the room, and would have to run across the room to go hit the record button. The other night, I knew about the theme of this class, so I was looking up my radios on eBay and stuff, and I found my Sony Dream Machine, which was this little AM/FM tape recorder over here. So I wanted that and my finger to kind of be the focus. Here, let me get this in frame. There we go. Okay, so I have my little 90s camping chair that so many kids loved with the Hawaiian flower print. And then me running across the room in my socks and dropping my book because I used to read. And down at the bottom is like some lyrics from one of the songs that I could never quite catch. And then on the side is the Sony Dream Machine with a cassette tape and some perfumes and jewelry. And then I like that on the far end, I got to sneak in a little bit of the reflection over here. And so like most of the room is in there, including the pointer finger. So yeah, thank you so much for the trip down memory lane.
Thank
And
you,
for me,
Sophia. That's great.
grew up in Detroit, or the Detroit area, so that was an alternative rock station that we had over there. Yeah. Thank you guys.
Thank you. We'll go to Audrey next. I think this will be our last one. Oh, there we go.
There I am. Okay, so mine ended up, I had my little dog behind me, with the fireworks. So she was kind of shaking me a little. Um, but there was one mixtape that I made that everyone had a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy. And every time that I got into someone's car, they'd start playing it. And so I've got my top panel is me sitting in a car or in the passenger seat, um, with someone putting it in, and like, oh, you gotta hear this. But yeah, I made that. And then let's see, I've got my turntable with my Jack Briggs album. That album actually inspired my graphic novel that I've had kind of stuck in my head for the past 10 years, and I'm actually finally ready to get it out. Um, so every song, like, it corresponds with the scene. It just turned out to be so weird. And then that's my friend Christine. Her eye isn't exactly that far down, but the little beam hit my elbow, and so I had to roll with it. And then the song that inspired the graphic novel is Didn't Know Yet What I Knew When I Was Bleeding. So I just kind of lettered that out. That's my little contribution for the evening.
So thank you, Audrey. I'm glad to hear that you could relate this to your graphic novel in progress. That's awesome.
Yeah, love those bold drawings too. Sunmi, I'm going to spotlight you back.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you so much for doing this. This was a real great way to go back in time a little bit, but have some emotion connected with it, and think about the way that like music connects us, but also like is so embedded in us, and hearing like different some different generational versions of it too, right? Like some people are going back to this format or this radio show, and some are more, but we're all doing the same thing. We're trying to share music. Oh, I love this. This was great. Thank you. Tell us one last time
Thank you,
what you're working on and how we can get it.
Yeah, so thank you all so much. I really loved seeing all your drawings and hearing about your memories, and just I think I was trying to think maybe what AJ said about like the building your confidence, that's something that's been in my mind since I've started singing as a hobby again, especially having to go up in front of an audience. That was something I couldn't do as a child. I had terrible stage fright. So yeah, drawing and music, it's like you're practicing the skill of drawing and making music, but also there's another skill, which is building confidence, and being able to share that with people is really vulnerable. And so I really appreciate it.
Awesome.
So yeah, I'm working on my second book right now. It's going to be a while, but at the very least, you can always find me on Instagram and see what I'm up to. Yeah, my first book, Firebird.
And I just put that in the chat. I'm going to ask everybody to unmute and give you a round of applause. We really appreciated this. This was great. And thanks for taking your July 4th out.
Yeah, no, seriously.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Thank you,
everybody. Have a
Sunmi.
great
Yeah,
Thank you.
really great.
We'll
Thank
have
you.
Thank
to-
you.
Thank you,
Come back.
Sunmi.
Thank
That was
you.
wonderful.
Thanks,
Hope
Bye.
everybody's
Thank you.
animals survive the fireworks.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Bye.
yeah. Take care of everybody, all your families and animals.
I agree. Thanks so much, everybody. We'll see you next time.